Meeting the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
Kish is here, and Trustee Abraham is absent. Start with the meeting minutes from the April 25th regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Lynch. Pledge to the flag. Roll call. Lynch, Euring, and Kish were present. Abraham was absent. Also in attendance were Case Marsh, G. Lynch, C. Nyhart, and J. Whitman. 4623, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring. Move to approve the April 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as presented. All ayes. 4723, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring. Move to approve that the March 2023 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. 4823, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing, which includes ARPA fund expenditures as specified in documents provided by the fiscal officer. All ayes. Under correspondence, Trustee Lynch noted no pet customers should have received an opt-out notice if residents choose to. Trustee Lynch welcomed everyone and asked if there were any items for discussion. Under reports, the fire inspector, burn ban is in effect till the end of May, no burning from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Under zoning, there is a variance hearing this Thursday, the 27th at 6 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. Roads, parks, and cemetery, topsoil jobs, seeds, and straw down. Mowing and gear. Just completed dumpster days, and it was much lighter than normal. Burial on Saturday, and typical maintenance. Under Lorco, Trustee Lynch provided an update on Cinnamon Lake Project and West Salem Project. Phase 2, 2 projects in the mix. Batten House Restoration 2022, approximately $90,000 project. Still waiting on a couple of easements for first project, which is approximately 3,900 feet in length from the Beaver Creek East Branch at Middle Ridge to Lakeshore Railway near the intersection of Oberlin and Stang Roads. Highly unlikely we will go out for bid in June 2023 as we originally anticipated. Second project, the 2023 Batten House Ditch Restoration, is approximately 2,000 feet from Lake Shore Railroad to 44378 Stang Road. This project might be extended from Stang Road to OTP if Stormwater District funding is available and we are able to obtain all easements. The complaints are being handled by designated individuals. Under old business, Trustee Euring noted the Solid Waste Consortium meeting was held on April 19th, 2023, and they put together a tentative bidding schedule, and it looks like it will be due in October. The fuel surcharge went down from $1.61 to 84 cents. Under the quiet zone, Norfolk Southern sent additional paperwork that was signed by City of Amherst Mayor Costello, tentatively scheduled to take effect in May of 2023. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 4923, a motion by Lynch to adjourn, seconded by Euring. We adjourned at 7:29 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the April 25th meeting minutes?
One correction, a typo under correspondence. It should have received an opt-out. It says and instead of and. That's it. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Euring?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Under financials, you have the payment listing in front of you. There's nothing out of the ordinary other than the payment for the first quarter for the Amherst Fire Department for EMS, fire inspections. Everything else is taxes. Monthly bills.
And Chris, as far as the ARPA funds with our next payroll, will we be seeing expenditures out of the
Yeah,
ARPA
I have
account?
to, I want to make sure I have the time to do that. When I'm on vacation, I'm going to be able to, I don't want to
Okay.
do it quick
Okay.
and do it wrong, so.
All right, well then, you want to still, as we approve the bills and financials, to mention the ARP even though there's no specific payment
We
this time?
take it out this time. I mean, if you don't
Okay.
want to, you put it back in for the next.
I'm just going to leave it
Okay.
on the, so that we have the right wording.
Right.
But we don't necessarily have to say it since we didn't have any expenditure this month. We've had that in some others and we've left it in there.
Right.
Uh,
It's fine with me.
Okay,
I'll just change it to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing.
yes, with reservation. And I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Okay, Lynch?
Yes,
Euring?
Yes.
And just to quickly go over the rest of the financials, our revenue to date was $726,330.92, and our expenditures were $395,462.06.
and what was that motion number there? Chris?
That was 5-2 for the financials. Then the last thing I have is appropriation or amendment.
Right. And so what Chris is asking for in your packet, David, you'll see there's a prepared resolution for the appropriations for 2023. Kevin had requested some additional funds for some concrete work on the roads. And so there's, you can see the changes there where the road and bridge appropriation was increased by $175,000. That'll still keep us in the positive, so it'll go through the tax budget commission without a problem. While David's looking at it, I'm going to make a motion to amend the permanent annual appropriation measure for 2023 per Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.38, 5705.40 to allow additional road repair.
I will second.
Any discussion?
No.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
And that is 5-3. And I thank you and Kevin thanks.
Okay, is that it, Chris?
That's all I have.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance. If you have anything to bring before the trustees, please raise your hand. Dave, did you have something you want to bring up tonight?
Yeah, I kind of did. That house did project.
Can he come up just to?
Linda's-
Sam normally does.
You want him over by Sam? Okay. We just need to get you a microphone to pick it up.
Oh,
You
okay.
can state your name.
Yeah, my name's David Moore. I live at 45273 Middle Ridge Road. I was just kind of concerned about the Batten House Ditch project. I know we didn't do it last year, because they were looking for some extra funding and whatnot, but, over the past 3.5 years, 4 years, I've raised that property in the back 3 feet. And that, in January, and I have a video of this, in January, it crested it. It went over that 3-foot bank. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's just extra property back there for the creek, you know, whatnot in January. We know we get a lot of snow, a lot of rain, whatever the case may be. But the one thing is, there's a French Creek drain in there, and I own the Block A, or whatever it is, behind all the houses there on Middle Ridge Road, and it floods it, because it can't, the water has nowhere to go. So, I mean, is there anything we can do? I mean,
To speed it
can't we
up?
just get somebody to come in and knock that damn beaver dam over?
Yeah,
Or clear it
that's,
out or something, just so that water moves. Because right now, that's what's stopping it, and it's all going out to the left, or to the right. right down next to Bourne's property, and it's just a mess.
Dave, is
No.
that video, I don't know how large the size would be, but is that something you can email? I mean, I know you've got my email, and I think you have Don Romanchak, the stormwater
Yeah, I have it.
district director.
I think I have his email. I just got to figure out how to download it. I'm computer stupid.
If you
so-
could send, well, if you can send that to both of us, but just so you're aware, that was where Chris just read the minutes
Right.
of our last meeting. He was talking about your project, and my last conversation with Don, he was still waiting on 2 easements. You know, we've got to get the property owner's permission, come on their property, and the one was the Doyle Lake Nature Preserve, and I know that the family was coming in, the person that owns it, to this area, that they needed to sign it, and that's with the attorney representing them. I don't recall what month that was, if that was May or June. He was hoping to get that signature. I believe the other one was actually Ohio Edison that he was waiting on.
Yeah, Ohio Edison owns the one back on the other side.
Yeah, and I had talked with Nick. I'd have to look up Nick's last name.
From
But-
Ohio, yeah,
Yeah, from Ohio Edison.
begins with a K.
And had him give us the direct contact person for the individual Ohio Edison to try and expedite that. I don't know that since then it might have been expedited because they've signed on at the easements before without a problem.
Right, I know.
But the real thing is getting the one individual that's coming in from out of state. But that's why I put in, I think it's going to be difficult for us. We still have to go out for a bid, even though, as you're aware, most of that is going to be removing the log jams and the beaver dam. And I'm hoping if they can get those easements quickly, we can bid it this year. Since we're using public funds, we have to publicly bid it and get that done. We're waiting too now, the other portion, which, Kevin, this could turn out like our last one. If they delay, it may all get put in as one project, is this Thursday, the Stormwater Advisory Committee is meeting on, and one of the items they'll be looking at is the grant applications that we've all turned in, which is still the Bat House, but coming up further from the Norfolk Southern Railroad. And depending upon the funding that's available, we wrote it so that it can be either a 2,000-foot project or approximately a 4,000-foot project. And the thing that impacts the scope of the project is available funding, and then also willingness of property owners to sign the easements across their property, since the equipment obviously has to ride across their property to get there.
Right.
So hopefully we can still do it this year, but I don't know. But that's why I'm asking to help your cause, to send that email, because that may nudge a stormwater district. And if you send it to me also, I'll make sure I forward it directly to the Board of Commissioners,
Okay.
who ultimately make the decision.
Right.
But they've got a large number of projects they're doing in the county, which I know that's kind of diluted their resource. They've lost employees that, it's right now, people are going elsewhere if they can earn more. I mean, I've heard all the stories, but I understand what they're doing, their large number of projects, is because they're using those ARPA funds to do a lot of the drainage courses that before couldn't get funding because they only had so much. And because of that, that's using of the resources they have left, it's taking a lot of time for them and going through to get these approvals on these multiple projects across the county. But if you can send that email, you remember, do you have my email?
Yeah, I
I'm
got it
sure you
somewhere.
do.
Yep, it's probably on my
If
desk.
you can send it to both of us, it looks better if it's coming from you directly to Don
Okay.
Romanchak. And if for some reason it doesn't, I'll make sure I forward it on to him, and you'll be copied so you see it went to him.
Well, with the ground just being saturated as much as it was over the wintertime, I bet you we've lost 15 or 20
The
ash
trees,
trees.
well, I hope they take those trees down. Right now, the way it's looking
I
is
took
they've
2 of
got
them
it.
down yesterday.
Pardon?
I took 2 of them down yesterday.
Well, that's even better if you take them down, but
That's just it. I mean, is there anything that I can do to help out to
well, I think advocating is going to be the one as
I
far
think
as.
getting a video or getting some pictures to the county is,
Well, he's already
Great
sent
help.
pictures. It's going to be this new
Send
video
pictures.
from
I got a video that
January.
I made in January.
Yeah, the other photos were already sent, so.
Right.
Well, even if she got some pictures of that, if he couldn't upload the video, if he could
We
get
got-
a still photo of your video and get it.
We
up.
got
About a 2
pictures,
minute.
since Dave started this, we got pictures beyond what Dave had. We actually had Matt Arnold go out and walk the ditch. And he took photos of every log jam in the beaver dam along the way. So we've got enough photos of that, David. I just want, since you've got a current one and timestamp for January 2023, and now it's crested, an additional 3 feet, it's just, I think that'll help, because the last one we had, it showed the water, but it hadn't crested over where you would put that fill in.
Right.
It come up to the top,
Yeah,
but it hadn't gone over the bank.
Yeah, it came up just over the bank. I mean, right at, just over.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
it
think this
was-
will help
yeah.
so that they see, it's potentially getting worse, because you know what happens, once you get those beaver dams and the log jams, anything else that floats down, it all keeps stopping.
Well, any trees that fall across that creek now is just
Right.
it's gonna make it even worse, so. Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I came in. I just wanted to see what what we were gonna do and the time frame was. And so
Yeah, it's-
I'll see if I can get you that video here in the next
That'll
few
be
days.
helpful, because that might push them around at least, the old squeaky wheel thing. And that, hey, don't forget this project. I know they've got a lot of them, and I know they've lost people, but,
Okay.
it's, this one's affecting homeowners. I know some of their other projects, and it's just as important, but they're affecting fields that, crop areas.
Right.
And obviously, in the ag areas, they're concerned too, because it's when they can get their equipment in if things aren't draining.
Mhm.
But if you can do that, that'll help your cause.
Okay.
But it's not forgotten. As you can see, we just discussed it at the last
Yeah.
meeting.
Right. No, I just, like I said, I just came in to see where we're at on the progress and whatnot,
Okay.
so.
All
Yeah,
right.
okay. I'll see if I can get that video to you in the next few days.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
On that, I was gonna bring up one other thing. Is there anything regarding the beavers? What's gonna happen with the beavers? Are they gonna have to repatriate the beavers there?
Wait, you want
Because-
one? You want one?
Not really, not right now. I'm thinking of giving you a gift for your birthday or something. But, no, it's a reoccurring problem, that beaver dam. And I'm afraid that if we don't rehome the beavers, that it's going to keep coming back. What are you laughing about?
Some questions are best left unasked. The beaver won't be back. These particular beaver, however they decide to resolve it, will not be back.
Okay.
Right? Other beaver may move into the area, but these beaver will not be back.
All right, so that's been considered, okay. But it's a serious question. If you don't get rid of them, you're going to have another problem again.
All right. We'll move on.
You think it's funny?
I'm not laughing,
Is your house flooding?
not laughing.
We'll move on to correspondence.
I have none.
Okay, David? All right, all the
I don't-
ones I have
I have
deal
nothing at
with.
this time to bring forward.
Okay, everything I have is on an agenda item, so we'll address it there. So we'll move on to reports. I did want to mention for the ambulance service, and David, this has been confirmed. They typically have an annual meeting, but Life Care is looking at the upcoming contracts with the communities. We don't know what that's going to be. As you were aware, in the last meeting, there was discussions as far as number of vehicles, location of vehicles, but I sense they're really looking at where there's going to be a fee that they expect the district to be paying, which would probably be apportioned out to the 3 members, and in our case, that's the city of Amherst, the village of South Amherst, and Amherst Township. But there is a meeting scheduled for June 15th at 6:00 p.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. And I'm sure that Life Care will have more of the data that we had asked for at that last meeting. They did email some data, which I assume you received. It wasn't necessarily in the stratified or arranged the way I would have preferred, but they at least had some data now to justify what they're talking about versus just
6:15
generic.
at 6
June
PM.
15th, 6 o'clock PM at the Amherst Fire Department.
For me. I can
Okay.
get up there.
And then also, we'll move on, the sheriff's not here. You should have received, though, the sheriff's report by email. So I'm not going to go through that. I'll let the sheriff, when they're present with our community policing officer, discuss that. But we did have our zoning inspector, Sam D'Ambrosio, he's been discussing various items, and two of the items he's got a response, which you have there in your packet, from the prosecutor's office in terms of site plan and variance hearings. On that particular one, his concern was when, a typical one business making an expansion, usually isn't that difficult. Our fees can pretty much cover our cost. But when he has these larger site plan reviews, and you get it from whether it's our architect or our fire inspector, those fees just from those individuals are more, their cost is more than what we're charging for the hearing. So he's asking if, we can charge for those as separate or not, or we still have to determine that. But the prosecutors determined that, yes, we can increase the fees, and we can require a deposit ahead of time. So in that particular case, it might be putting on a deposit if it exceeds a certain amount. And that's where we're going to have to put on that amount as far as the category of what the standard architect and fire inspector costs typically are versus when we go through a much larger scope project. And then for new business, this is where he was asking, because there are costs, administrative costs, in the registering of businesses and the changeover of businesses, he just wanted to know if it was okay to have a fee in there to at least cover the cost, again, for the commercial building inspector and fire inspection costs. And he received an affirmative response from the prosecutor on that also. So that portion of what Sam's working on is there. There's still some additional information to obtain. Then also sticking with zoning, on the Board of Zoning Appeals, you have in your packet Ron Friend, who has been with us now for, I think it's almost 12 years. And Ron was a retired engineer, very valuable on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I can tell you in the multiple hearings, I'm sure, David, you realized he'd really dig into the information that was presented. It wasn't like he was looking at it the day of the meeting. He had actually studied it and asked very pertinent questions. But there's a lot of things pulling at Ron's time right now, and I know he was gracious in agreeing to stay on for this year. I know even this year when I talked with him about upping, he was, hesitant, but he agreed to stay on. Well, now things have reached a point where, he's got other demands on his time that he has to take care of. So Ron's turned in his resignation. We're in the search right now, so if people know someone that's interested in getting involved, let us know. I will be talking with the Zoning Commission also as far as their thoughts to get an individual on. What we'll probably do is move one of the alternates up to Ron's position, so the opening's going to be for another alternate. So we still have 6 people, and we need 5 at a meeting. Fire prevention officer's not here. Okay, roads, parks, and cemetery, Superintendent Marsh.
I don't have too much here. We just been on potholes and full-time mowing. About to get started with the roadside mowing. But everything seems to be going pretty smooth. Been cleaning out catch basins as well. And I see here, Neil, speaking of catch basins, this was an email that was sent to you?
Right. Yeah, just today.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you about this. So is this the okay for both of these?
Well, you're asking the $64 million question. I did have discussion with Linda earlier. We're going to have to look at the numbers. We're going to have to look at the numbers. But I know he was gracious in agreeing to stay on for this year. I know even this year when I talked with him about upping, he was, Don Romankek, the director of the Stormwater District, sent me a recall email at 1:45 PM for the Hidden Valley Catch Basin. Then I received at 1:46 an email with the MOU looking as if the Hidden Valley Catch Basin project repair was approved. So I'm not sure if that was the one he was trying to recall, or did he send an earlier one and it did get recalled? I don't know. But I didn't want us to hold up the project or have you trying to chase down trustees for signatures, so I printed both of them. I've got an original here for David to sign for both the Hidden Valley Catch Basin replacement and then the 80-foot of clay tile you want to replace with the PVC, since it's already clogged and some of it's broken. So I know for sure, since the one for the storm tile replacement, that came at 3:09 PM. I think we're safe to say that one was approved. The other one, I'm not sure if they approved both or just one, so that's where I mentioned to Linda, the two of you are going to have to get together. Maybe she can call Don to find out. I did not forward, the email went to you, David, myself. Since there was a question with that recall notice, I didn't want to forward those emails on, and find out, oh, wait a minute, that's the one he was trying to recall, and it came later than his recall email. So we're going to have to talk with him.
I'll try to get in touch with him tomorrow.
Okay, well then what'll happen, I've got the originals here. David and I'll sign these, and then you'll have these so that they can be scanned and emailed back to Don, as two separate files. All you'll really have to email is the MOUs that'll be signed tonight, and that way the commissioners can get them signed. And that's up to them. I don't know if it looks like Don himself can sign it.
I got a question for you. When you put together this packet, did you get a copy of this in your packet?
Yeah,
Copy.
I've got the copy
The
and I've
catch
got the
basin?
originals for you to sign.
Oh, okay, because I got two copies and I don't know why.
Well, good, and that explains it. Somehow I figured you got two copies, there's two of them.
Yeah, you got a stormwater and you got a catch basin.
Right, so which one?
Okay, I got one of each and then I got an extra one on the
Okay.
catch basin. I
There
don't
was,
know why.
somebody got two, and that's why I put the rest of the packet over here, David, because
Yeah,
this
I
just-
figured somebody didn't get one.
since this came in late, I had to add it to the packets that Linda had already printed out for me yesterday. Okay, I just received this information today. So when you were trying to talk with me earlier and I told you I had things to do and couldn't talk, and you told me, well, geez, you've got a half hour. I'm saying, David, I got a lot to get done here in that half hour. I'll talk with you completely after I get the task done I need to get done. So, and as you saw, it was right up to 7 o'clock when I finished. Okay? But that's, Kevin, you understand what's going on. It appears the one for the 80-foot of tile is definitely approved. The other one we don't know. So when you talk with Don, you'll find out. Once you have that clear, these can be scanned, sent back to him so that he's got them right away.
Sure, hopefully both of them end up getting.
Yeah, and we've already passed, and I marked on the originals, the resolution we already passed that authorized the ability to sign any additional documentation they need. So we don't need another motion or resolution on either of these. Okay? Is there anything else, Kevin?
Nope, that's it.
All right, then we'll go to Senior Services and Township Administrator, Linda Ashley.
Kevin and I met with Becky Ames from KLA Consulting, which is, she is a consulting firm that works with Otarma. And they come in every couple of years and go over the parks, the cemetery, disaster plans, recovery, all kinds of questions that she has. So she was pretty pleased with our answers. But she did pick up on a couple things that she recommended, and one was that anybody that's driving their own vehicle for township business, which would be like myself going to Staples or the post office, Sam, Georgianne, if she's running errands for the township, that we have a copy of their insurance card and their driver's license in their personnel file. So I'm still looking to get a couple more that I know. I have Sam's, I have Georgianne's. I didn't do mine yet. I don't know, Chris, do you do your?
Not yet.
Okay, Chris has to do hers yet. And I think that's it. The only other one might be the president or the chairman for the BZA. I don't know if he gets paid while he's running to the post office on business.
They get paid by meeting,
Just by meeting?
just
Okay.
by meeting.
So that may come in later, maybe if he's meeting with the prosecutor or something, if we notice that he's doing that kind of thing. that we
Well, and
need to
he
get
has,
his.
I mean, there's been meetings with the prosecutor too, because I've been with them when we've had to go to the
Yeah,
county.
so I'll have to get his and maybe one other person on the BZA that I know of that goes to meetings. But once we have them, we're just going to leave them in the personnel file, and I'm not going to update them every 6 months as the insurance updates. I figure, she didn't say we had to do that, so.
Yeah, well, and it's, I'm not sure what they want. I mean, what about when they go to training? Like the prosecutor puts on a training seminar, and several of them went
If
to
they're getting
that.
paid, yes, then she wants it, anything.
But they're not being,
They're not paid to
they're not
drive.
paid to go to the training, it's voluntary, so they went to the training.
Well, if it's voluntary and they're not paid, then we don't have to have their insurance card. It's just if the township is paying them, they're on the clock.
And I don't recall, Linda, Chris, if the elected officials have done that. I mean, since theirs is on an annual basis, do the elected officials need to have that down? I mean, it's not, they're probably the easiest ones to provide.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, if we have it, we have, you know, that's not a bad thing to have, I think. I don't know that it's a requirement. She was more focused on the employees that are paid and they're running errands on company time.
The
So-
grass ain't growing straight. She wants a picture of it and documented.
Yeah, well, you know what, they're.
I was trying to be nice.
They're risk, yeah, they're there for risk managers to,
I know.
so it's
Yeah,
difficult. You recall at one time, we had to get rid of some playground equipment because the bars were spaced where people of certain size heads could get stuck in there. I mean, that's the way it is.
another one of her recommendations were on our pavilion reservations. We did do the rules and regulations and put them on like a placard at the park. She wanted us to add the verbiage that the township is not responsible for injuries. So I did write that on the bottom of them, and we replaced those, and we put it on the website. And she said that's just a small disclaimer that we can do. She also would like us to have a user agreement signed when anybody uses the pavilion that would state that we are free from any injuries. And she gave me a sample. I haven't really looked at it even yet.
But that'd
You got
only
a hold
be,
harmless clause?
Yes, kind of like a hold harmless clause, right?
that'd only work if they're paying for it, because we say, if nobody's got it reserved, you're free to use it.
And that's-
People do.
It's the reservations, and she realized that.
Okay.
You know, she says, I know that people use it without renting
Right.
it or reserving it, but on those. So I'll work on that, and at a meeting in the future, we'll take a look
Yeah,
at it.
and let's just make sure we keep it in mind, though there is a cost, and because Kevin goes down, if he knows somebody's going to reserve it, there's a large group, to clear out all the trash containers, so they're clear, and hopefully the porta potties are, you know, have plenty of capacity remaining in them. And the main thing is, they put up that, I mean, it's a small fee, but they put it up, they know we've got that time now. We get to use it. But any other time, it's not reserved, it's available to the public at no charge.
Right. And I think that's too why she wanted that Amherst Township isn't responsible for injuries kind of posted,
Okay?
so that if anybody's in there. Other than that, I've been working on doing the job descriptions and duties, trying to have something in place for if I'm not here anymore, that somebody could step in. I know Georgianne's been working on hers. We're trying to work on Sam's. Then there's some grants that have come up that Kevin and I have talked about. They're a lot like that Thriving Communities grant, where they're looking for more of the poverty areas. This was a Safe Streets grant, but I don't think that we're going to qualify, but I'm still kind of looking into it. There were a few other grants that maybe we can look into, but that's taking some of my time right now. And I have an upcoming Medicare refresher next week.
Well, you had talked about, since it was 2 years ago, we had the cemetery grant, that one's available now.
July 1st, that one's available.
Yeah, so hopefully if we can look at that one, because it's nice to keep those cemeteries up, but to also be able to offset some of the cost.
Right, yep. So that's on my calendar. I know that I've talked to Kevin, and we're kind of bouncing ideas off each other, and
Well, I
it will
know-
get done, we will get it applied for.
I know it's helped because the work that Kevin had done up at Kendag, I actually know a township resident that went up there, they're getting that into life, and I'm sure because it's been cleaned up nicer, they thought, boy, this is a nice tranquil little spot and well kept, but, probably after you got all that brush and stuff off the fence, it makes it look much nicer.
So, and that's all.
All right, thanks, Linda. Do you have any other questions for Linda there, David?
No, this time, no. I know where she works.
Okay. And then I'm just, even though we tend to cover the Phase 2 stormwater requirement in the second meeting, Kevin already brought up early, that's why I had the 2 mini grants in there, but there's also the Stormwater Advisory Committee provided which you have a copy there of the agenda. The next meeting will be on Thursday, May 18th at 5:30 p.m. This will be at the County Administration Building, 4th floor, Meeting Room B. And at that time, you can park in the parking garage. If you go all the way up to the top, so you're, in the unprotected area, so to speak, you can get in at that door. But I'd suggest you be there a little bit early, make sure it's unlocked, and,
What is this, SPAC?
yeah, this is Stormwater Advisory Committee, because I'm hoping at that time that they make the recommendations on the community grants, which we've submitted here, and that second one is for the Batten House ditch, for the upstream from where David's concern is, where he lives. It'll be interesting to see if they've added, because I was concerned at the last meeting, and there was definitely disagreement among certain members, but I think they'll be overruled. It sounds like they extended the deadline for the grant application. So there may be additional grants that were put in subsequent to those that met all the original requirements. And somehow I found that difficult to accept when, if you set the rules, follow the rules. You don't change the rules during the time you're playing the game. But we'll see what happens. I'd at least like to know who came in after the deadline. But we'll see what happens. So they are going to have a person there from the Soil and Water Conservation District talking about the Black River area of concern. This is that Patty Donnellan, and she was at the last meeting, the annual meeting of the Stormwater District, which would have been 4 weeks ago coming from this Thursday. So 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks back. Okay, beyond that, I've covered all the information I needed to cover. David, was there anything else you needed? I do have in the packet here for you the actual proposed bid schedule and process for the Solid Waste and Recycling Consortium. So now we've got
Is that the revised one you said?
This is the revised one that Megan Moore had
Updated.
sent out, and I did respond to her because she had actually asked for a response if this was acceptable, and I let her know that, yes, from what I can see, this will work. All right, so ultimately, what they're hoping is the real key in the timeline, the beginning is the first advertisement for bid would be October 9th of 2023, and then what they actually hope is that the successful bidder announced in January 5th of 2024, And then the contract, recall, the last one was extended a bit. The contract's beginning on April 1st of 2024. So this can still change, but this is the way it's set right now. I would say, once this goes for bid, though, that'll solidify everything. Okay, and Kevin, there's a copy in your packet, but we'll see where it goes. Let the residents know, you know, it could change providers. We don't know. We go every 5 years. And the last two, we've ended up with Rumpke. We had, at the last bid, we had Kimball, Rumpke, and Allied all applied. So we had 3 bids, and the way they went, the majority of the communities went with Rumpke. Avon Lake did go with Kimball, but it's only because Avon Lake has a considerable longer laundry list of requirements. The biggest one, I think that tipped it over, was they require curbside pickup of yard waste. We put it, Amherst Township, I think we were the only ones of the smaller communities that we put it in as an option. We wanted to see what the costs were. And once we saw those costs, it was so high, it's like we can't have everybody in the township paying for something that only a few people are going to use. And so we opted not to go with the curbside yard waste pickup. But we may do the same thing just so we know what the numbers are. And that also helps when people ask, well, how come I don't have, especially people that moved into our community from another community, why can't I put my leaves and yard waste up there and you guys pick them up? Well, the response is, it'll cost you, like the last one, $20 a month. You know, do you want to pay $20 a month to have your yard waste picked up? Some people might be willing to do that, but for those that are composting their own or mulching things up or don't have a treed lot, they probably don't want to pay it. I know for me it wouldn't be worth it, so we opted not to use it, but we'll probably go through the same thing. Okay, is there any other business?
Just to let you know that Policy Committee met today and
The Solid Waste Policy Committee for Chris's
Solid
minutes.
Waste Policy Committee met today and we okay from the EPA, their comments on that. So it will be put up for public comment the 1st of June to the 30th of June. And the plan will be posted by June 1st on the district's website. A tentative public hearing is scheduled for July 11th. And then from there, we'll go out to the communities for their approval.
And did they, David, did they take out any discussion as far as community grants, or is it still there so they could re-implement it if they wanted to? They being the County Board of Commissioners.
How do I want to say this? I asked almost the exact same question. There is enough wiggle room in there that if the finances are available, you could do a community incentive grant.
Okay.
And this was the timeline for what?
The plan update.
The-
This is the timeline
The
for
solid waste
For solid
Yeah.
waste.
Correct.
policy plan.
The solid waste plan. Update for the solid waste plan. Timeline for the solid waste plan.
And this is mandated by statute,
Yeah,
Chris.
this is from the EPA. Have to have a plan, here it is.
Yeah, well, it's actually our legislature mandated at the EPA.
It has
to
to have a
to
balanced
implement
budget,
it.
so.
Let us know when you're ready, Chris.
I'm ready.
Okay, any other business, David?
At this time, no.
Okay. Any need for an executive session?
No, this time, no.
All right, our next regular meeting will be at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, May 23rd. Kevin, do you have any need to have a work session with the trustees?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to make a motion to adjourn at, can't see with reflection, at 7:48 PM.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.